Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, you're going to meet the founder and president of Stronger Women. She's going to talk about the journey from hurt to healing next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, during my 2.5 decades in TV news, unfortunately, I covered way too many domestic violence calls. Often it would be a standoff with police. And those are just the calls that we know about. There are so many people who are suffering in silence even today. And someone who's trying to put a light on this problem is my next guest, Dr. Brooke Jones. She's the founder and president of Stronger Women. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, great to be here. Thank you, Jeff.
Absolutely. We were just talking before the show that domestic violence has been around, since the beginning of time. Yes. Is it less taboo now to talk about it? I mean, are you starting to see the stigma fade away?
Yes. While it's still a huge problem, it's still too big of a problem. What I have seen just in the last 18 years I've been doing this work is people are more willing to talk about domestic violence. Victims have the ability to come forward. In some cases, okay, there's still a lot of work to be done, but instead of calling people battered wives, we now call them victims and survivors of domestic violence. We're calling it what it is, and beginning education is really the next step.
Well, I love the name of your nonprofit, Stronger Women. I mean, that's a powerful name.
Yes, thank you.
And this comes from your own journey of hurt to healing. You wrote this book. It came out this year. It's called Hiding Next Door. Let's put the book cover on the screen. And what attracts me, the red thread story. What does that mean?
Well, I'm so glad you said that. And it's important because in my journey, even as a child, I dealt with abuse as a child. Teen dating and violence led to adult abusive relationships. And throughout all of the difficult things that I went through, God was always there. And so the red thread story really highlights God's favor in my life, God showing up in my life, even despite that things were very difficult. And my story, escaping domestic violence, isn't just one story. As many victims know, we escape many times in multiple relationships.
Sure.
I ended up being stalked. There was battery, there was criminal battery, and my husband at the time actually beat me, held me hostage, and I had to escape to get to a hospital for help.
Wow.
And this was about 20 years ago.
And I watched you on another podcast, and you talked about how he was charming, and when you first met him, he seemed to be everything you could possibly hope for in a man, and then it changed.
That's very true. What happens in abuse is it requires isolation and dependency. So again, isolation and dependency. And the way abusers use different tactics, charisma, charming, those are very common tactics. What happens is you become isolated because of the abuser, and then in some way you become dependent. And once those things take hold, then abuse can begin. The challenge, Jeff, is our societal systems, systemic systems, if you will, are built to design for people to get back together, to stay together, to find their way through. And without the proper mental health support and education, domestic violence victims can cycle through really harmful relationships for long periods of time.
Sure. We're going to put your website on the screen. And as we scroll down the website, talk about how your organization helps these victims and survivors.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. So Stronger Than Espresso really is a passion of mine. So in 2006, it was actually September 19th, 2006, I heard the words from God, stronger than espresso. And that was after a 2-year journey after escaping from domestic violence, and I had to heal because I was so wounded and post-traumatic stress wasn't even a thing at that time. Yes. So I began to heal, and I heard those words from God. And from that, I began writing. And what it's turned out to be is a curriculum called Stronger Than Espresso. We've been able to create many different types of survivor support classes. We've created Bible studies that help heal on specific topics for domestic violence, as well as even tomorrow night, we're starting a teen group. Wow. We're doing Stronger Teens with Police Department, as well as we'll be launching a parenting group for police departments also this fall.
Sure.
So what we really try to do with domestic violence, we found that because we're education, we find that we can wrap around existing services that are already there.
Yes.
You know, what's there in the zip code, what is available, and how can we come and help educate, equip, and even restore those that are hurting, but those doing the work.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we're going to pull up some video from our library about different domestic violence scenes. And I think a common theme is always to blame the victim. Like, why didn't you get out? Do you still experience that? Where people who've not had domestic violence in their life are so easy to say, well, why didn't you just leave?
You know, I think that's the biggest myth about domestic violence is why doesn't the person, if it's that bad, why don't they leave? What I would like for people to really recognize is that in order to leave a domestic violence relationship, you have to give everything up. And I don't think people really realize you may have to give up your house, your life, your finances. Some cases, victims have to give their kids up, right, for different reasons. They may have to give up their faith, their house of worship, automobiles. So what people don't realize is systemically it is set, our systems are set so victims can't leave. And one of the number one reasons why women are homeless or women and their children is because they're trying to escape a domestic violence situation at home.
Wow. We're going to show a video here in a second. It's a public service announcement from the NFL, but I want you to kind of set the stage. This is a very powerful video from, 10 years ago?
It's been around. It's been about 10 years. It was something that was created as there was a movement to really bring awareness to domestic violence, sexual assault. That was a great time because it brought conversations to the forefront. This was made, and it's still a beautiful depiction. I hate to say the word beautiful because what happens is domestic violence doesn't look like abuse is there. Most of the time people think, well, if there's not a black eye, then abuse isn't there. But when you watch this video, you'll notice that the house is a pretty nice house. A lady is making a phone call of desperation. It's only because the first responder knew how to listen that this woman actually got some help. So it's a very powerful, moving statement about this.
Perfect. Let's roll that now.
911, operator 901. Where's the emergency?
127 Brynmere.
Okay, what's going on there?
I'd like to order a pizza for delivery.
Ma'am, you've reached 911. This is an emergency line.
Large with half pepperoni, half mushrooms.
You know you've called 911. This is an emergency
Do you
line.
know how long it'll be?
Okay, ma'am, is everything okay over there? Do you have an emergency or not?
Yes.
And you're unable to talk because...
Right.
Is there someone in the room with you? Just say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like I have an officer about a mile from your location. Are there any weapons in your house?
No.
Can you stay on the phone with me?
No. See you soon. Thank you.
Wow, I got chills. And you've probably seen that 100 times, and
Yes.
you probably still get chills.
Every time.
Yes.
Every time.
What is one of your favorite stories of someone you've helped?
Well, I have many, but one of my favorites is a young lady who was in one of my first groups because I was the first facilitator of the groups in 2013. She came to one of my groups because someone referred her, and she kept saying for weeks, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. I don't think I was supposed to be here. But week after week, she began to receive healing about looking at her own patterns, dealing with difficult emotions, and learning how to say no to different patterns in her life and abusive people. Well, let's fast forward 10 years. This young lady she finished school. She went on to have a successful career. She is actually being considered for one of our board members now for our organization. So what's happened is this individual was a victim of domestic violence, and I watched her repeat over and over to return. But imagine 10 years later, she's not just surviving, she's thriving after domestic violence. And a lot of it is because she was able to heal from some of the pieces that she needed to heal to move past it.
Wow, amazing story. You also brought with you a tote bag. Why don't you hold that?
I did.
Hold that
All right. So for all of the people who love a good tote bag, I'm going to share that this one is the best gusseted bag with a zipper. What we're doing, Jeff, we're super excited. North Texas Giving Day this year is September 19th. And we are looking forward to, between now and then, anyone who donates at strongerwomen.com, $100 or more, will receive this tote bag, and they can share the Stronger Women love wherever they are. So we'd love to have you join us here at Stronger Women.
Beautiful. Great job. I appreciate you so much. We're going to leave you with the website so you can donate or get involved. It's strongerwomen.com. The great Dr. Brooke Jones. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you. Great to be here.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.